Okay, my friends, so I just want to let you know that you are about to see a YouTube where we go into great length to explore the wonderful benefits of something called Peat-Fiber, and Rudolf Steiner's extraordinary research about the benefits of peat fiber to protect our bodies from harmful electromagnetic manifestations. And this has been a real game changer for me and has opened the door to a question about something that I've recommended to you all in the past. And I'm still exploring this question. And it has to do with using fabrics to create what we call a Faraday cage. And a Faraday cage is designed to keep out EMFs. It's using a special type of fabric with silver threads in it. Sometimes it's made from cottons, sometimes it's made from silks. There may be people who are making it with other types of synthetic fabrics, but I never recommended any of those. And we used to recommend that for very sensitive people, so that during the time that they were sleeping, they could employ a Faraday cage made out of a canopy of this fabric that they could enter into. It looks like mosquito netting. It goes all the way to the floor and beyond, so that it literally creates a canopy, a protective canopy from this fabric. What we will be questioning partly in this new YouTube is it possible that there are extremely beneficial frequencies that come to us from the sun, the moon, the planets, and other things, electromagnetic frequencies that might be given off by plants and things like that, that are beneficial for us, that we are stopping by the use of any type of Faraday cage, be it the classic one that's used for scientific research that's made out of lead, or the ones that we're talking about that are made out of fabric. I talked to you about even buying some of this fabric and making a little protection for your thyroid while you're in front of a computer with this fabric. In Europe, they use their peat fabric to provide this kind of benefit with scarves and vests and different articles of clothing. The first thing we're going to have available here in the United States will be the bedding. And over time, we'll see if we might be able to get the clothing as well. So I invite you to take a deep dive into the world of peat, the world of frequency, the world of the protection that our earth can provide to us. And just remember that the products that I've been encouraging you all to take in my cell core type YouTubes are all based on humates, which is the foundation of peat as well, and fulvics, which are broken down from humates, which of course are the foundation of the peat box. I'm excited to welcome Patrick Steensma. Is that correct, the pronunciation?
That's pretty good, yeah.
How would you pronounce it?
Steensma, we call it Steensma in Dutch, but yeah.
Steensma? Okay.
Steensma.
So Patrick is from the Netherlands, and he is going to be talking to us today about a most extraordinary product that he is making available globally. I think something that is so profoundly important for all of us to consider when we're looking at what it takes to be healthy in this day and age. Most of you know I have been talking about what we can do to support and honor
the brilliance and wisdom of our bodies, and to honor that relationship with nature. And so much that's happening outside of most of our control can be a little frightening. And Patrick is bringing to us an answer to one of the biggest issues that I think we're all facing, and that in particular our country has tried to downplay. And that's the effect of EMFs, of microwaves, of computers, cell phones, devices, 4G, 5G, on our delicate electromagnetic bodies. And so I am going to invite Patrick, who has opened a global market for a very special type of comforter and mattress topper that's made of a unique natural fiber. It's a Peat-Fiber blended with a very special organic form of merino wool and placed into a beautiful type of protective bedding that we might find a time of refuge from all the EMFs while we sleep and give our bodies a chance to heal themselves. So Patrick has developed this with a major Dutch alchemist and also a seasoned German bedding manufacturer. And I'm going to invite him to speak a little bit with you today about this product. And then we can also talk about why it's so important to invest in something as lovely and carefully prepared as this particular bedding. So take it away, Patrick.
Thank you, Meridian. It's great to be in this get together, so to say, online with you, and I must thank you for initiating this interview. Well, I mean, of course, the things that are going on with the Corona and the 5G and people talking about it, and also experts kind of who have kind of a profound understanding of what many angles on this are about, have been going online, and one of them is Dr. Thomas Cowan, San Francisco doctor. And he was mentioning the issue with virus and what happened in the early 20th century in 1917 with the electrification of the earth. And that 6 months later, the Spanish flu appeared. So the virus is a consequence and it's not a cause. And what the electrification did to people is that it made it harder for people to actually stay human, because they get kind of overwhelmed by electrical forces. So before that time, in the hundreds of years before that, that was not the case. So the issue is that people were not so much jeopardized in their state of being. And so he pointed that out, which is a really good thing to point out. And yeah, that's something that there were more things that happened after that. Also in the 60s, you had all the satellites going around the earth. And then now, I mean, in the last decades, you could say that the radiations are only intensifying with the 3G, 4G, and now 5G. So it's only getting more massive that we're getting exposed to these forces.
Let's go back a little bit here, because the term being human is used in a unique and beautiful way by Rudolf Steiner, and I know
Right.
That's what we're doing here. And so someone might say, what do you mean? Because I'm exposed to, in the first case, I believe it was the addition of radio radio waves that were being used to broadcast information between lines for people in the war during 1918. So I believe that was the first unusual electrification. But there's even information about how when we had sunspots, there was one of the first pandemics. So it wasn't even something that we did humanly. It was a change in the electromagnetics of the Earth based on a cosmic event, a sunspot. So electrification can happen in many ways, but what we're doing as humans has been out of great ignorance. And we don't necessarily think, even though we can now test the subtle bodies, energies of the body, we can now see with different devices that there's a field of energy coming off the body.
Right.
The way that acupuncture works is based on the electromagnetics of the body.
Yeah.
And when I teach people how to muscle test, I show them that if I muscle test off their body for a point where they have pain, it's actually stronger off their body than it is on their body.
Right.
The responses. That subtlety of these bodies that most of us don't even consider exist. So we are harming those bodies and we don't understand what the result of that is. So perhaps you can talk to us a little bit about what Steiner meant by human and what the result might be of doing something to these delicate fields around our bodies.
Yeah, well, the point is that it works on your etheric body. So it's where the life forces are. That's the kind of the architect, basically, of the physical body. And from there on, it also works on your soul. This is what they call the astral body, also. And the point is with your thinking, it operates basically on your etheric body, your consciousness. So when you get affected, when you go into a room, in a certain room, and it always kind of makes you feel a certain way, what the vibe is in the room, right? Or in a shopping mall or whatever. So you get affected by things. It presses on your own being, and we're not that aware of. Well, we just take it for granted, or it's just like whatever. But when you're talking about all the effects that are out there, and like in this case with all these electrical and electromagnetic things that are out there that you're not aware of, and then the point is that it can really jeopardize you. And that's what this whole idea with the Peat-Fiber is trying to bring to the surface, that it's not just something that you can neglect. So it is affecting you. So when you have your thinking also means your consciousness. So it is affecting you in your consciousness. So how can you operate when something is affecting you that you're not aware of, right? So it's the point is that you need to make the decision yourself. So, okay, I can feel it. And then do I want to be affected by it or not? Am I going to do something about it? So the issue with not being able to make that decision is that it will then overpower you, right? That is the issue. It will overpower you. And when you are aware of it, then you can kind of work towards making a decision about it. Then you're aware of it, so you're already generating light, basically. It's a consciousness thing. Consciousness is light. So with the Peat-Fiber, what that generates is that it kind of gives you this film, this kind of like a rock kind of film in your etheric body, because that's what it does. That's what the nature of the Peat-Fiber is, as far as it's doing. So it kind of, in a homeopathic way, it does that for you. So that's the first time I put on a sweater like this. It was immediately, I could feel like it was an armor. just boom, just like that. It was an armor. And that's something that you can benefit from. I mean, you don't need to have it all the time, but you need to be having that as a choice. That okay, now I need it. You know, now I feel I'm not feeling so good, and I would benefit from having some more protection.
So, are you actually wearing a Peat-Fiber sweater?
No, this is not a Peat-Fiber sweater, but I have it right here. This is my vest.
Aha.
So it's a Peat-Fiber vest. It's lined, so you know it's got pockets here and there. So, but I only put it on when I feel like I need it.
Okay.
And I'm already. Sorry.
If you're going to go out to a shopping mall or something, that would be a great place to put it on.
Yeah. For instance, because in big places with a lot of people, then I know there's energy exchanges going on. So it's like an energy market that you're going into then. So you want to be not just having your energies get sucked away for whatever reason, you know.
I would think about airports and places where there's cell phones everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's an airport is loaded with radiation, I would say. Yeah.
I would love to know more about the peat itself and how can it help to protect us from the 5G. I believe Rudolf Steiner talked about very special qualities of the peat itself, like we know about moor mud. Maybe you could talk to us about moor mud and the history of where peat actually came from and why it has this special quality. Right.
So indeed, after the Spanish flu, then Steiner said, well, you know, people need to beef up their spiritual capacities to withstand this jeopardy because of the electrification. And then 1920, he probably had been looking into the peat fiber, and then he said, well, peat fiber can help people from this onslaught, basically, of what's coming. He said there's more of an onslaught coming with electrification and electromagnetic fields and airplanes, and he said there's all kinds of stuff coming. And it will help people, like with garments or textiles, it will help people to be able to continue their spiritual development, which is basically the reason why you're here on the planet.
Our capacity is to be fully functioning humans, meaning loving and compassionate and kind and creative and furthering life. That was always his ultimate purpose, if I'm not mistaken. He wanted to do something that would protect us so that those qualities, which we call human, could be fed and nourished rather than harmed by electrification.
Yeah. I mean, the core goal is a world of freedom, love, and goodness. So how are you going to get that, right? So when you're not exercising your spiritual power in your spiritual development in your life, then you're basically stuck with an ego and an intellect and maybe some basic stuff, but you know, you're not really exercising your spiritual birthright on the planet, right? You're having kind of a life, but it's not free. It's not really free. Freedom means that you can make a choice between going for a physical urge or not. So you can say, no, not today, I'm going to do something spiritual. But that's what the freedom is about. And when you exercise that freedom, then the spiritual world opens up as well. So when you're not exercising that freedom, you get stuck.
I sure still want my intellect and my ego, but I surely want it to be guided by love and compassion and an urge for freedom and making the world a better place.
A higher purpose. That's what Steiner says, is when you connect to a higher purpose, a general higher purpose for humanity, then the spiritual world starts to talk to you.
And I know
So
most people find it crazy, but really by considering protecting your, or finding what truly works to protect your subtle bodies, that helps in supporting us to be more free, to be more loving,
exactly.
to make wiser choices,
Yeah.
rather than to just be led with a scientific, egoistic, selfish motive. And that's kind of the way I look at this, and Steiner's ultimate purpose in all of his recommendations. Is that how you consider it too?
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, it's a universal law to not interfere with the free choice of humanity. So that's for the good spirits, the angels, the good ones, but it's also for the bad ones. They cannot interfere with that. And then they show it in a cloaked manner in their symbology and what have you, is then they're actually telling you what they're doing, only then in a cloaked manner. And then they think they haven't violated it. Or maybe they haven't, I don't know. But that's another topic, of course. But the
Yes.
freedom is where it all starts. So if there's no freedom, then the other things cannot come about. There cannot be no love, there cannot be any goodness.
So one of the things that I've discovered in my life, and I work with my patients with all the time, is that nature, if we really stop and observe and spend time and try and let go of everything we've been taught about things and just observe what's going on, there are some profound lessons there. And I believe that that's what Rudolf Steiner did with this particular type of fiber, this peat fiber. And I was wondering if perhaps you might share some of the insights that came to Steiner about this, that he shared with the world through his teachings, and why it is that you personally took on this piece of Steiner's indications to create a business out of, because
Right.
it's a pretty important
Yeah, well,
you took there.
right. Yeah, well, I've spent a lot of time with my alchemist friend for, I don't know, 12, 15 years, what is it? And he's been working with Peat-Fiber for more than 30 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, so he knows a lot about it, and he's kind of a guy who really knows how to connect to the substances and to the crystals and to the flowers. So he's been studying Steiner a lot on what he said about the peat fiber, but he's also been doing his own research on it. And therefore, I was introduced into the peat, and I got my vest. I got some ointments that he made, massages that are possible with the raw peat fiber. So things like that. So it's kind of a combination of those things. And what Steiner said is that the peat fiber being is a being that really wants to help humanity very badly, also because it's been lying in there in those moors for hundreds to thousands of years, and with all those forces, so you can imagine not being touched by any electricity or electromagnetism. I'm talking about the northern part, Scandinavian, that's where the peat fiber comes from. And it's just being amassing all those super powerful forces, basically. And it's been going from brown coal into charcoal, and also kind of already going into the diamond phase. So that's another very important angle on the peat fiber. So it's got what is called human particles, and that's where the brown coal, charcoal, human particles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So carbon.
Yeah. So carbon leads to diamond, right?
Yes,
Right.
one of the major constituents.
Yeah, that's for the physical body. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and another thing that Steiner said about the peat fiber is that it actually originates from the time that's the phase before the earth phase, before the dense earth phase, which we call the moon phase. And in the moon phase, everything was more kind of mulchy, kind of swampy, kind of watery, kind of like the moors. It was kind of like that. So it basically originates from there. So it also has a lot of these strong moon forces, which are densifying forces, right? So, like for instance, the crystals are known to be formed by the moon forces. That's why they're so hard. So that's an important property of the peat.
How could that moon force benefit us as humans? How does that affect our health?
Well, that part is because it was still kind of in a pure phase. So it's not so much polluted by the electromagnetism and the electrification. So it was kind of a pure thing. So that's why, yeah, again, it's got this purity to it. So indeed, the Morbass, has been known for hundreds of years in the European continent and also in England and Ireland, that it was so healing. And there are many healing properties to it. And that's also what I've experienced, is that there's actually, it can do much more than only the protection. It just yeah, when you make a personal connection to it, that's actually the best way to do it. And then it will help you on your personal level. So I don't know if you have that experience with rosin quartz. Yeah, it's called Dr. Love because no matter where you have a pain, you just put it there, and I don't know, it just takes care of it. It just knows. So the same thing I've experienced with peat fiber. So I can give a good example. I fell down on the stairs on the train station with my knee, and I fell on the marble, the edge of the staircase, right? And I was running, and it was really painful. And the next day I had to perform in some music theater, and I could hardly walk. So I just came up with the idea, okay, let me just put the peat fiber on and see what it does. And for 75%, it was gone the next day.
Could you show everyone what the peat fiber looks like?
Yeah. So this is...
Could you hold it up a little higher for us?
Higher, yeah.
Great. Now I can see it.
Yeah.
So
and that's only like 5 to 10% of the peat moss. Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah.
So that's a fiber that comes out of the peat moss.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because they also use the peat moss for the garden and maybe for some the heating, stuff like that.
So how did you actually use it? Did you just take a handful of fiber and place it on your knee?
Yeah, I put it in a cloth, like this much.
Like
Put
a
it in the
post-it?
cloth, and I just tied it around the knee.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you just wore it. And how did it work? Did it absorb some of the inflammation, or do you know how it worked?
It just healed the pain, and it took the pain away, and there was quite a bump on top of it, so it was
So was it swollen before, and afterwards it was less swollen, or completely not swollen? What happened?
Yeah.
Did it completely go away?
No, not the next day. I mean, that was, but I could move. I could do my thing.
So
I still was a bit in pain.
better? How much better would you say? How much better would you say it was? 50%, 30%?
75%. In one day, one night. So I slept with it.
So it just somehow absorbed a bunch of the swelling, the size went down, and the discomfort was greatly reduced by 75%.
Yeah.
How lovely.
Exactly.
So what all do you think, or what all did Steiner say, or what all has science shown us that this precious substance absorbs?
Well, you can look at it from the physical properties angle. You know, that's
Okay.
kind of that's the scientific angle, is always the
Yeah.
physical properties. So what it has is a high content of silicic acid, which has the quartz in it.
Yeah. Silica in
Right,
that family. Okay.
right. So, and that attracts cosmic light.
Mm-hmm.
So it absorbs. It's directed to absorb it.
Aha.
So
So it helps
that's
to bring the cosmic light to us
yeah.
because it's absorbed it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's got
Okay.
that in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's beneficial for us. We want to be connected to the cosmos, right? And then the other part is the human particles, which is, you know, for the basic physical components, the brown coal to the carbon, and then diamond.
So you're saying humic, Humic, a humic particle.
Humin.
Humin, not an.
Yeah, it's like let me see, melanin.
Oh, melanin, like the
Yeah,
dark spots on the
yeah,
skin or the
the
dark
freckles. Yeah,
coloration.
yeah. So
There's
so
so
that
much
that
about how
helps.
melanin absorbs sunlight
Yeah,
and brings that
but
into our
it
bodies.
also changes the negative, the what is it, the shortwave length damages the protein in the cells. So this transforms it into long wave.
So it's similar to being out in the early morning sunlight, in a way.
Right, right.
Gives us that benefit, which is so profoundly healing
Oh,
for us
totally.
as humans, M-A-N.
The humans. Yeah.
Yes.
There's another thing which is actually interesting in these days, but peat also acts aseptically.
One more time. It acts.
Aseptically. Sorry. So
So it
antibacterial, antiviral,
yes. So
septic.
antiseptics.
Yep.
Okay. So it gets rid of
Antiviral.
infections of all different
Yeah.
kinds.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Gotcha.
kind of like when they do surgery.
So you're talking about viral. You're talking about bacterial and fungal, or just viral?
Yeah. Yeah.
All three. Okay.
All
So the
three.
whole realm of.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So it provides a protection
Yeah.
of the bacterial layer too, a healthy bacteria, rather than allowing harmful bacteria to get their way with us.
Yep.
Is that true? Because I know our whole system is covered in bacteria. They're
We need it.
swarming
Yeah.
on us.
Yeah.
We need
That's
them.
right.
They're our buds.
Yeah.
But there's also ones that can cause damage, and
Right.
these absorb
Right.
those
Yeah.
damaging. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So then we go into the a bit more subtle body, which is the etheric body.
Yes.
And that's where, because it has all these life forces, so that's where it works. Starting, kind of kicks in on the top, the most important one on the etheric body, which is again divided in 4 elements, and that is the warmth ether. Now, like with the sun directs everything, and in our own life, the warmth directs everything as well. You know, so that's just how it works. Like we are little suns, like the sun out there is the same within us. So, but the important thing is that the warmth ether then directs the other ethers too. So it's important that it kicks in from that level, because then it works on your bloodstream and your blood circulation. That's kind of how it starts to work there. And from there, it works on your nerve system. But the point is, the way how it works is what it does, which is makes you feel at ease and protected. So on the warmth level, it's like a big bear giving you a hug.
So we
Right.
kind of have that continuity where when we feel
At
good,
ease.
yes, when we're at peace, then there's that warmth that we just
Right.
naturally generate. And we are
Yeah.
soft and we're open. And
Also.
when we're in fear, we're contracted, and that can reduce the amount of flow of energy and warmth. We can get cold.
Yeah.
You know,
And we are actually harmonious beings by nature. Just we are peaceful beings. The human being is a peaceful being.
So much happens from even in the womb that takes us out of what's a natural state, that it's a little challenging for humans to actually remember our natural state of harmony.
Yes.
You know, I wanted to quickly mention that there's a test that I do that I'd be so curious to see what would happen for people after sleeping in one of these systems of, you know, both like a mattress pad and a blanket.
Yeah.
We're going to have to show you those to us in a minute here, but it's called regulation thermometry. It looks at very subtle levels of temperature changes that happen when we're exposed to cool air. We start off protecting our warmth body, wearing very warm clothing, even in the summertime. And we look at the temperatures on hundreds of different points on the body that have been recognized by the ancient ones forever to connect us to different organ parts, tissues, and things like that, and all the teeth and their relationship to organs and all that.
Yeah.
And then we stand for 10 minutes in just underwear in a temperature of, in the United States, 69 to 70 degrees. And then we retest those points, and we look at how the body is able to respond to that change. The reason for doing that is because the autonomic nervous system will take the protective warmth from the outside and take it inside to protect the organs in a situation of external cold. And that warmth body is so necessary for our survival that it will shunt it inward when we're cold.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how, but I think there's a connection here with this idea of protecting our warmth body and how that would actually be very profoundly healing on the autonomic nervous system level. Because that also has to do with feeling at peace or feeling frightened, being soft or being contracted.
But it responds to that being the effect on the warmth body. You know, that's there's an interesting test. I don't know if you ever heard of heart coherency.
Yes, I have it here.
Heart math.
Yes, we do heart math. We hook people up to heart math all the time when we're having discussions with them to find out what their heart's really interested in, not just their head.
Right. So it's got 5,000 times stronger magnetic field than the brain, the heart.
Yes.
And it responds 20 seconds before the brain.
Yes.
You know, they did these tests with that on the earlobe, and then you know the heart already knows, and the heart operates fundamentally on warmth.
It sure does.
So
there's even more connections here. It's just so lovely how many levels of gifts one receives when we take in this gift from nature, the human energy.
Yeah, well, that's the point that I made with the brown coal and the carbon and the diamond. So the diamond actually has to do with what they call the resurrection body, by which what Christ did in the Easter week. So he resurrected, and the resurrection body, what that's actually made of is kind of what I pointed out, is the high human ideals. They're not for you. So that's love. So you're basically connecting yourself to love of God the Father, basically. So when you try to manifest that in your life, then you're working on your resurrection body. And that's what Peat-Fiber will help you with.
It's a pretty deep and tall task we're talking about there.
Yeah, that's all stuff that that alchemist friend of mine figured out. So I thought that was really interesting. He's like, because he's been working with it and you could see it, and oh yeah, it's going into diamond, and oh yeah, it's, you know, so.
Well, perhaps we can invite Gunther to join us for some conversations. So we'd love to hear what he has to say, and perhaps he can also help to take these words that are very charged in our Western culture and help us to really understand them more deeply. Because I know that terminology can.
Yeah, of course. That's it's very. There's a lot to it, so to say.
Yes.
It's a complicated topic, that's for sure.
Well,
but it does invigorate. Sorry?
Let's bring it back down to something that we all can possibly benefit from. Do you want to show us your different products that you have available?
Right. Yeah, I can show something. So the basic Peat-Fiber, I just showed that. So the comforters and the toppers are made out of merino wool and Peat-Fiber. So it's turned into a fleece. At the bedding manufacturer, they blend it, and then this is what it's made into. And then there's the basic. This is where you can see the basic comforter.
Yes.
So that's on the inside, and you see the fleece on the inside, and the outer layer is made of the finest cotton pecan. So it feels silky. Organic cotton pecan from Romania. And also the finest cotton pecan is also necessary just in case there's little particles that come out. So when you hold the raw peat, then there's these really small little brown things. They come out. But when it's blended, they fall out, of course. But still, you want to be sure that your bed is not getting dirty with that stuff. So it's the other angle to it, to make it the finest cotton pecan.
So in other words, it's a very tight weave.
Exactly, tightly woven. So then this is that one was the year-round version. That's the thicker version. And this is another version, which is called the summer version, which is 50% of the Peat-Fiber that's in there. So this layer is pretty much less than that layer.
And do you have some of the mattress pad too there?
Yeah, this is kind of the same sort of sample of the topper. So it has this band here. It's on 4 corners.
Yes.
And it's a bit thicker because it needs to carry the body weight. So it's up to like 40–50% more of Peat-Fiber depending on the size.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I believe you told me some really special things that happen when you sleep on this, like how beneficial it is for skin issues and for people who have insomnia. Might you say something about that?
Well, the point is that it has this cocooning effect. You know, it kind of makes you feel like a rock. So my experience is that you just sleep more at a stretch and deeper. You have a deeper sleep. So, like for instance, there's a lady who who bought it as well, and she was kind of in her end of 60s, I think. But she said she normally woke up 5 to 6 times a night, and pretty much at the first night she only had to wake up once.
That's quite a big difference.
That's the big difference, yeah.
That could really allow her to get into a much deeper sleep, which is what we need to heal ourselves and rejuvenate.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, so that's basically what it does. It puts you into deeper sleep for a longer period of time.
Patrick, I'm curious, have you also looked into the fabric that basically is cotton or silk with silver threads in it, or stainless steel threads that's supposed to act similar to a Faraday cage? Have you looked into that?
No, not yet. No.
Okay.
So that would be in the fleece inside?
No, it wouldn't be necessarily in the fleece. It's typically a canopy is made, and you sleep inside of it. And the canopy needs to go down and actually touch the ground. And it doesn't allow for, it's kind of like being in a lead environment that doesn't allow for the frequencies to get into it. It creates a Faraday cage. You know, the thing that I heard could be an issue is that those threads and that type of a canopy might actually prevent some of the cosmic forces from coming in. And that might be a reason not to use the canopies and to consider doing this instead, because this clearly has such beneficial forces to contribute to us, not just eliminative.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's the thing with the peat fiber, it builds that layer for you. You know, it's got this rock kind of effect. So this film on your etheric, you know, it's kind of building this layer on your etheric that by which you can become protected and aware of what's going on. So
it sounds like this actually has something to contribute to our life force, not just protecting us from harm. But there's actually
it invigorates it. It makes you stronger.
So that's a very, very precious thing we're talking about here. I mean, something that might be difficult for us to even begin to understand or weigh, you know, with our minds. We'd have to just feel it and sense the truth of this.
Yeah, it makes sense, I would say, but you would also, of course, need to experience it yourself. So, you know, see how it works out and see if you're guided to it or not, something like that. You know, I was so inspired by it, and Steiner was really adamant about it, that this needed to go out into the world because it was such a big problem solver.
Yes.
So, you know, it's kind of, and I'm going to continue it. There's going to be more coming, and you know, I bet there's a lot of people who are going to be enamored with it and want this stuff. So
I think so too.
It's got a big, bright future, and that's yeah.
Is there anything else you want our viewers to know about?
Yeah. The one thing maybe is that there's kind of another basic angle to it, but that's because of the warmth. It helps you also with rheumatism and scleroticism. So for older people, it's also kind of something maybe more beneficial or extra beneficial, because they're getting more frail, and you know, and then they get reinvigorated on the etheric, because it works in the warmth. So with rheumatism and scleroticism, it's kind of cold stuff. It's cold disease. So this adds warmth to it.
So we think about getting old as drying and getting cold, right? Drying up and getting cold. And in this case, we're talking about warmth. Do you feel it also helps to support the moisture of the body, or just the warmth body. Warmth
No,
body.
well, it directs everything out of the warmth, so it helps on every level.
So we could see it in a way, I hate to use the word, rejuvenating, but it does appear that anything that would be beneficial to the warmth body would have a rejuvenating effect.
Yeah.
Because that's part of being young.
Yeah,
Infants
well,
are warmer than their great-grandparents, right?
and you're leading up to an important other aspect of it, and that's fertility. So it helps with fertility issues too.
Oh, how lovely. It's such an important phase. So much so much is drying us out. Yes, cold.
But that's logic, because it just reinvigorates you, so you just get more life force.
So you're finding people's libidos coming back from sleeping here in these. I bet you've heard some good stories.
Planning.
I look forward to hearing some of those great
That's
stories.
a joke. I don't know any of them. No, but
Well, I want to hear people telling me that their joints no longer hurt.
yeah. No, I never went there. I mean,
Yeah, invigorating their relationships with their wives.
Spice up their love life. Yeah.
Yes. It sounds like a good thing to me. All right, there. Well, anything else, Patrick, you can think of?
Well, I mean, there's this website that I've built. It's the global web shop, and you can order through that. It's shipped all over the world, doesn't matter where. And it's just have a look. And there's a lot of different varieties, especially US ones. I just put it out all in their inch dimensions, because some calkings are different than other calkings, and so it just is not waterproof to put just a name with it and then still end up with not the right dimension. So I just put them out in dimensions with the names, but I put the dimensions to it.
So Patrick, will you please spell out your website for everyone, and we will make sure that it's on this Zoom for everyone as well. And we'll also have information for you, a link and a special way to order on our website, awakeninghealth.com.
Yep.
But Patrick's website is?
GaiaHeartworks.com. So that's GAIA, heart as in HEARTWORKZ.com. GaiaHeartworks.com.
Great.
And we have distributors, so we appreciate our distributors. They're very helpful for us and for the customer, and it doesn't make any difference in the price. So, for local people in the US, then you could make use of a distributor.
And I'm happy to be one of Patrick's.
Your distributors. My distributors, yeah.
You can always check it out with me, and we can discuss what your needs are. And then we can look at the website together and help you make your perfect choice.
Yeah. Good point.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's fun. It's great.
Yes, thank you so much.